Narendra felt cramped in the monastery at Barangagore and lost interest in its petty responsibilities. The whole world now beckoned him to work. And hence one day in 1890 he left the monastery again with the same old determination never to return. He would go to the Himalayas and bury himself in the depths of his own being. To a brother disciple he declared, "I shall not return until I gain such realization that my very touch will transform a man." He prayed to the Holy Mother that he might not return before attaining the highest knowledge, and she, Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual wife, blessed him in the name of Sri Ramakrishna. Then she asked whether he would not like to take leave of his earthly mother. "Mother," Naren replied, "you are my only mother." Accompanied by Swami Nikhilananda, Naren left Calcutta and set out for northern India. The two followed the course of the Ganga, their first halting place being Bhagalapur. To one of the people who came to visit him there, Naren said that whatever of the ancient Aryan knowledge, intellect, and genius remained could be found mostly in those parts of the country that lay near the banks of the Ganga. The farther one in those parts of the country departed from the river, the less one saw of that culture. This fact, he believed, explained the greatness of the Ganga, as sung in the Hindu scriptures. Naren further observed, the epithet mild Hindu, instead of being a word of reproach, ought really to point to our glory as expressing greatness of character. For see how much moral and spiritual advancement and how much development of the qualities of love and compassion have to be acquired before one can get rid of the brutish force of one's nature, which impels a man to slaughter his brother for self-aggrandizement. He spent a few days in Varanasi and left the city with the prophetic words, "When I return here the next time, I shall burst upon society like a bombshell, and it will follow me like a dog." After visiting one or two places, Naren and Akhananda arrived at Nainital, and their destination being the sacred Bhadrakrashrama in the heart of the Himalayas. They decided to travel the whole way on foot, and also not to touch money. Near Almora, under an old peepul tree by the side of a stream, they spent many hours in meditation. And Naren had a deep spiritual experience, which he thus jotted down in his notebook. He wrote, "In the beginning was the Word. The microcosm and the macrocosm are built on the same plan. Just as the individual soul is encased in a living body, so is the universal soul in the living prakriti, or true nature matter, the objective universe. Kali is embracing Shiva. This is not a fancy. This covering of the one soul by the other nature is analogous to the relation between an idea and the word expressing it. They are one and the same, and it is only by a mental abstraction that one can distinguish them. Thought is impossible without words. Therefore, in the beginning was the Word." This dual aspect of the universal soul is eternal. So what we perceive or feel is the combination of the eternally formed and the eternally formless. Thus Naren realized in the depths of meditation the oneness of the universe and man, who is a universe in miniature. He realized that all that exists in the universe also exists in the body, and further, that the whole universe exists in the atom. Several other brother disciples joined Naren, but they could not go to Bhattachrama since the road was closed by government order on account of famine. They visited different holy places, lived on alms, studied the scriptures, and meditated. At this time, the sad news arrived of the suicide of one of Naren's sisters under tragic conditions. And reflecting on the plight of Hindu women in the cruel present-day society, he thought that he would be a criminal if he remained an indifferent spectator of such social injustice. Naren proceeded to Rishikesh, a beautiful valley at the foot of the Himalayas, which is surrounded by hills and almost encircled by the Ganga. From an immemorial past, this sacred spot has been frequented by monks and ascetics. After a few days, however, Naren fell seriously ill, and his friends despaired of his life. When he was convalescent, he was removed to Meerut. There he met a number of his brother disciples, and together they pursued the study of the scriptures, practiced prayer and meditation, and sang devotional songs, creating in Meerut a miniature monastery. After a stay of 5 months, Naren became restless, hankering again for his wandering life, but he desired to be alone this time and break the chain of attachment to his brother disciples. He wanted to reflect deeply about his future course of action, of which now and then he was getting glimpses. From his wanderings in the Himalayas, he had become convinced that the divine spirit would not allow him to seal himself within the 4 walls of a cave. Every time he had thought to do so, he had been thrown out by a powerful force. The degradation of the Indian masses and the spiritual sickness of people everywhere were summoning him to a new line of action, whose outer shape was not yet quite clear to him. So in the later part of January 1891, Naren bade farewell to his brother disciples and set out for Delhi, assuming the name of Swami Vivekananda. He wished to travel without being recognized. He wanted the dust of India to cover up his footprints. It was his desire to remain an unknown sannyasin among the thousands of others seen in the country's thoroughfares, marketplaces, deserts, forests, and caves. But the fires of the spirit that burnt in his eyes and his aristocratic bearing marked him as a prince among men, despite all his disguises. In Delhi, Naren visited the palaces and mosques and tombs. All around the modern city, he saw a vast ruin of extinct empires dating from the prehistoric days of the Mahabharata, revealing the transitoriness of material achievements. But gay and lively Delhi also revealed to him the deathless nature of the Hindu spirit.